A study recently came out, and I know the second that I say that, you're going to instantly turn it off because most people don't care, right? But a study recently came out that said people who are better able to regulate their emotions have better cognitive abilities. That's pretty cool, right? I don't think this is something that's going to surprise many of you when you think about it. Like, have you made an emotional decision in the past? Was that decision as good a decision as you would have made if you would have taken a little time and thought about it? Most of us tend to have a little bit of an emotional, when we're having an emotional reaction, we tend to make snap judgments. And there's a reason for this, and we're going to dive into this, and we're going to dive into how to make better decisions overall at the end of the video. But start now, like, why does this happen? What does this happen in? Might be a good place to start with this. That might be the better place to start, because you see it in a lot of different people. It's not just people who have neurodevelopmental disorders. You do see it in those people. You know, people with ADHD, for example, are very impulsive. They make quick decisions. They're not always accurate decisions. But you also see this in people who are really stressed. You see this in people who are not sleeping correctly. You see it in people with autoimmunity. You see it in people with dementia. So there are really a lot of people out there that are affected by this. And what part of our population is not stressed? And that really is what pushed me to make this video. Everybody we know has a level of stress, and if your level of stress hits a certain threshold, then you're more prone to this. Why is that? What is the part of the brain that drives emotionality? It's going to be a deeper part of the brain. And actually, I got a little picture here. So the areas of the brain that are going to be affected by this, and I'm sorry that this is wrinkly. I actually got two of these. I only needed one for my wall, and I'm like, what am I going to do for this? But it actually works out perfect for this. So it's been in a canister sitting there. It's a little wrinkled up. So hopefully everybody can see it as clearly as I would like, and we'll go from there. But emotionality is really the deeper parts of the brain, right down in here. And these parts are driven by, well, a lot of different things. Like when I said stress turns up the responsivity of these areas. Other things can. A lack of sleep is a form of stress, different things like that. But neurodevelopmental disorders tend to have a little bit more of this subcortical functioning, and they don't have as much of the higher areas. These areas up here are designed to turn that stress down. If we don't have function up here as well as we should, then we have trouble dampening down that emotional response. Now, the interesting thing about this area up here is what is correlated with what would be called fluid intelligence. Now, there are different types of intelligence. This is talking about, decision making and academic intelligence. There's also things like emotional intelligence and et cetera, et cetera. We're talking about fluid intelligence on this. That lies right up here. Memory and decision making, the ability to turn down impulsiveness, the ability to turn down our emotions, different things like that are all seated right here. And they feed down and they turn this area not off, but they turn it down enough to where it's not driving the decisions for you, right? So if we get into one of those stress states, if we get into one of those states where we're not sleeping as well, if we get into a state where our emotions take control of us, we drive that lower level brain function and it turns down that upper level brain function. It's not able to dampen it. Again, all of our health is about balance. If we have the two areas balanced, then we have the appropriate response. But if this bottom level is overriding that upper level, that part that's up in here, then we start seeing that emotionality, we start seeing that impulsiveness, and that drives poor decision making. Now, again, have you ever been emotional in your decision making? All of us have, and we don't make as good of decisions in those cases. What can we do to prevent this? So, there are a lot of things that can drive this. The brain is something that has what's called critical periods, and kids that are exposed to any kind of stressor in those critical periods are less likely to have as good of brain development as what we would expect to see at their age. The bad thing is that frontal lobe, that area up here, takes until approximately 25 years. There's research that came out last year that said maybe even up to 40 years to develop, but 25 years to develop that. There are a lot of critical periods in there, right? So if you get some sort of stress in a critical period, then we dampen down the development of that area. That's a problem, right? Because what are the odds that you're going to get exposed to some sort of stress in 25 years? Pretty good. Okay, what do we start seeing in dementia? We start seeing the eroding of this type of area as well. And that may be correlated. It's very possible that those two are correlated with each other. So how do we overcome this? One of the easiest ways is getting a functional assessment. When we know which parts of the brain are functioning as well as they should and which ones are not, we can stimulate the ones that are not to bring them back into balance with the other ones. That's an easy way. Not something that everybody has. Now, what do they tell you to do if you get overly emotional and you're trying to make a good decision? Take a nice deep breath, right? Take a second to relax, calm down that response, and allow your brain to catch up. And that's really just giving that frontal lobe a second to is this really the right thing to do? Because when it's overridden, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have the ability to turn that other things down. That breath gives you a little bit of a stress relief and allows that frontal lobe to kind of catch up and make that better decision for you. So, overall, what can you do on this? When you're making any kind of decision, take a look at your health. Are you stressed? Are you sleeping enough? If you're not doing those things, can you delay the decision long enough to restore those things? Can you do some stress relief things first to knock down that stress? Can you take time to get enough sleep to make a better decision? What can you do to delay that to make the better decision? If you don't have that, just taking a couple deep breaths, making sure, thinking through, what are the long-term consequences of if I do this? Do I really want to say that? Do I really want to do this? What happens if I make this decision? And if we start thinking about some of those things, we start making better decisions. Obviously, that's a good thing, right? So again, health is about balance, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about the brain, if we're talking about the body, or whatever else. We have to have balance in those areas. Every single time that anything happens in life, it is going to take us out of balance. Without fail, it's going to take us out of balance to get anything done. What is your ability to get back in balance? If you have that ability to get back into balance, you have health. If you don't have that ability, then what do you need to do to get back into balance? And that's really where we need to start. Because if you could start getting back into balance, you can take charge of your health. Health isn't something that you have to have somebody else take a leading role in. Is it easier a lot of times to do that? Absolutely. Is it faster a lot of times to do that? Absolutely. But it's not something that somebody else has to step in. You can change your health on your own. There are a lot of things that you can do to move yourself forward and take that next step. But good, solid decision making is one of those things. And it is all related. So this is a good view of how those with neurodevelopmental disorders, ADHD or autism or autoimmunity or allergies, different things like that can still have difficulty with this. Those with a lot of stress and insomnia can have things with this. Dementia, just everything throughout life gives us difficulty in this area of our brain. And if we can overcome that, we make better decisions, and when we make better decisions, we win. So I hope that this is helpful. If this does help you, hit the like or subscribe button. At this stage of things, I'm trying to figure out what kind of information you want. If you let me know with a like or subscribe that you want more of this, then I'm going to make more of this. If you don't let me know, then I'm going to take that as you don't like this information, and that's cool. I'm not going to make more of it. So I love you. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you on the next video.